Sorry, Freeze. I'm just waking up, mate. After that snooze fest of a Chinese Grand Prix.
I was wondering where you were going with that one.
Yeah, there wasn't too much going on with it, was there?
No. Pretty boring, really. The sprint beforehand kind of spiced things up a bit. Got some interest sparked, but race itself.
Lewis Hamilton rewinding the clock.
Oh, wasn't he? I read somewhere that that's his first sprint pole, but also sprint win, but that's also Ferrari's first sprint win.
I did hear that, yeah.
I thought that was pretty crazy.
When did the sprint races get brought in? That must have been...
It must only be a few years because Verstappen's won shitloads and...
Sounds about right.
Yeah. And I couldn't see that, if it was in the Merc domination era. It does show that Bottas has won a couple, so I'm assuming that was when he was still at Merc. So,
The GOAT.
The GOAT.
Love Bottas. Good man.
Love to see him back.
Maybe next year, we'll see. Anyway, Chinese Grand Prix.
Yes.
I guess start off with sprint quali. Quick run through.
Yeah, well, that was pretty bloody good to see Hamilton in red on the pole, top step.
Never would have picked it going into the weekend.
No, especially from Australia. You know, it's kind of a bit of a doubt of what car they kind of had underneath them. I did throw a little bit of a prediction out there that they might bounce back, and it was seeming that way for the sprint quali and sprint race result.
Yeah, I guess we carry on from that a little bit. They went all right in the Grand Prix. On track finish, what was it, 5th and 6th?
Yes. Yeah.
And then, spoiler alert, got disqualified after the race.
They did.
Ooh.
I watched it all live because these first few races of the season we've had the luxury of being able to actually watch the races live here in Australia. So
it's nice.
I had it all on 6 to 8 p.m. roughly. I think I just left it ticking away as I was cleaning up. Wasn't thinking too much. Heard Ted doing his little pit talk
Waffle
thing.
sesh.
Yep. And he got the call through his little earpiece that Gasly and Leclerc are under investigation. And initially I didn't think too much of it because I thought, because he kind of touched on it as well, and, Leclerc lost his front, the end plate of his front wing after a contact with Lewis Hamilton, and I think it was the first corner, wasn't it?
Yeah, that big sweeping right-hander.
Yeah, so he was without a front wing end plate on one side of the car for, the entire race. So it was expected that he'd be underweight, but he was found... it
was only 1 kilo, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
after they drained the fuel.
Yeah, I don't know what they did. It must have been underweight enough that the front end plate wouldn't have made any difference, or maybe they had to sit a piece on or change a wing. I'm not sure how they'd actually go about it because he's essentially missing a component of the car. But yeah, he got disqualified for underweight. I'm not sure actually what Gasly's was for, and then Hamilton's was scrubbed out too much of that bash block underneath the car.
I think Gasly was also underweight.
Was he?
I'm pretty sure. So they both got disqualified for that. It's a bit of a slam dunk.
Yeah. But yeah, Hamilton's car was like $500,000 too low or something ridiculous.
Yeah, insane.
Insane tolerances in Formula One, but that's what makes all the difference.
And you get that in the sprint weekends. They've only got an hour for practice, and they made changes going into the race, so they probably didn't accurately predict how much wear they were going to get on that board on the bottom.
And Hamilton was saying that they regretting making changes because,
it was slow.
Yeah, and they stuck it on pole and convincing win in the sprint. and then made changes and
They just look nowhere, really.
not were shit, but yeah.
Not where they'd want to be.
No. So you'd think, after doing something well in the sprint, you'd keep it the same, but obviously they thought there was something to extra to gain there, but didn't quite get it.
Yeah, well, they need to pick it up a little bit. They've had a rough couple races, sitting down in 5th in the Constructors, Williams in 4th.
Yeah.
Which I'm happy about, but yeah, Ferrari really need to.
It's weird to say, but yeah, I enjoy it.
It's good to see.
Love to see Williams up there in the points, getting amongst them.
You've got Mercedes sitting 2nd in the Constructors behind McLaren with Red Bull 3rd, and that's pure Max Verstappen.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Lawson had a 20th quali in the sprint and, didn't really make too much ground, had a few overtakes. Everyone was kind of saying needs to pick it up for the Grand Prix, like pressure's on. Where's your quali?
Saturday. Yep, what can he do? 20 again.
20th again.
Which is so rough. Like, there was so much pressure going into that Saturday. Yet another chance to prove himself. Okay, yeah, maybe it was just traffic or whatever they were sort of chatting about in the sprint quality, but no, 20th again. Officially the worst start to any Red Bull driver's career in that second Red Bull seat, or, Red Bull full stop. And I saw a stat that it's even worse than old Nikita Mazepin's. Which you don't want that.
No. That was, But, I mean, I do feel bad for Lawson because obviously there's something going on here with this second seat. Like, it must just be so tailored to Max that it's, borderline undrivable. But I did expect a bit more from Lawson. I'm not riding him out just yet, unlike, some of the others.
There's so much chat, isn't there? It's crazy.
Yeah. But, no, to get more onto a positive note, McLaren's pretty fucking solid this weekend, mate.
Quick.
Oh, yeah.
There's no other word for it. Piastri, flawless. Well, I guess top 3 for the Grand Prix. We had Piastri, Norris and Russell.
Yeah.
And Piastri, flawless all weekend, put it on pole.
Yeah.
And, pretty much didn't see him in the broadcast after the first couple laps because he just sat out front and comfortably did his thing.
Yeah.
The only hiccup for McLaren for the weekend was Norris's brake issue towards the end, which did get
that was getting a bit spicy.
Got dicey real quick. That last lap and a half, he just was in no man's land.
Well, I think with 2 laps to go, he had like 7.5 seconds on Russell, and I was going, he's not going to get any close to that. I don't know what they're hyping it up for.
And he was sort of slightly getting a couple tenths closer to Piastri. You're like, well, he hasn't dropped any pace.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he just lost like 3 to 4 seconds in each lap, the last 2 laps, and it was, Russell was bloody chasing him down quick, but couldn't get there.
One more lap and Norris was done.
For sure.
He was cooked.
Yeah, I don't even know where Norris would have finished with another lap. He might have got passed by a couple of cars, really.
Well, he's lucky that the brake issue didn't cause him to DNF because that would have been rough. He deserved some points. He drove well.
Yeah, well, I think someone was saying about that if he didn't get the car home, it would have put Russell behind Verstappen in the championship or something like that. Russell second to Verstappen, or maybe Russell might have been ahead of Verstappen. I think I heard
Russell might have been leading the championship.
Yeah.
Which would be insane.
So
but that's another driver we can speak about is Russell.
Yeah.
Not a lot of chat about Russell, but solid podium performances back to back.
Yeah.
Got out there, did his thing, wasn't really challenged by anyone else, but not quite quick enough to keep up with those McLarens.
Yeah, Russell could be not a dark horse, but one to keep an eye on because he's just going out there doing his job. No one's really hyping him up too much, but he's bringing home solid points each weekend. So if he can continue that.
Well, that's all he needs to do early on. If he can stay thereabouts, as we saw last year, Red Bull come out on absolute fire, and it was like Red Bull by how much.
Yeah.
But things change quick. few developments come out that close the pack up or bring another team into the forefront. And if Mercedes can do that, then if Russell puts himself thereabouts, and with Piastri and Norris also battling at the front and sort of taking points off each other here and there, he could put himself in a real nice position.
Oh, be great to see a multiple battle for the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, I'd like to see more than just Piastri and Norris battling.
Yeah. Well, thought we were going to have a couple of RBs up there at one stage, but they decided to do a fucking stupid strategy that just threw Tsunoda and Hadjar just completely out of the points. They were looking like a 5th or 6th kind of finish for a while there. And
same as Australia, where they fucked over Tsunoda.
Yeah, just Australia left them out too long and lost too much time in the wet. And then this race, they pit them twice and everyone else, except for, I think, Hamilton, did a one stop.
Well, is it the Pirelli tyre strategy, like little pop-up they put on the screen?
That little graphic that comes up during the race.
Yeah. It's almost like RB's strategists were like, well, that's what Pirelli reckons we're going to do for pit stop, so guaranteed 2-stopper. We won't think about how many times we're going to stop. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. And
we'll move on from there. We just need to pick when we need to pit.
Yeah, didn't watch anyone else in the race, any of the data coming in. I don't know. They're kind of renowned for it, and I don't know what they're doing out there. Because they're starting to get cars fighting in the points. Like, if you're down low end of the grid, it's not so noticeable, but now they're up almost fighting for, 5th to 10th.
And Yuki's been putting in some blinding performances, and I think he's got 3 points to his name now, which doesn't reflect.
Well, if Yuki didn't get
driving.
Stuffed over, he would have nearly been like somewhere around the top 5 in the Drivers' Championship.
And he deserves it. He's been driving amazing.
Yeah, so he nearly would have bloody Lawson's seat to himself.
Which we can chat about that a little bit more later on.
Yeah. But up there where we kind of expected RB to be was Haas.
God.
Good amount of double points there. Double points finish for Ocon and Behrman.
Talk about a couple of recovery drives after the weekend prior. Just unexpected.
Didn't think they were really going to be anywhere. Again, it was another one, kind of like Ferrari, that I wasn't going to rule them out too early because, Australia was a bit of an outlier. But this is kind of what I was hoping from Haas at the start of the season, that, they'd be able to focus on this year a bit more than maybe some other teams. And, if they pull together a few more points finishes like that, then look out.
Absolutely rapid. And I mean, Ocon, a man that he's not favoured by this podcast.
Hey, don't bring me into this.
But credit where credit's due. Put in a blinder, and after those disqualifications, 5th in the results for the Chinese Grand Prix. So that's some good points for Haas.
Yeah, they raked in some great ones there.
And Behrman's little Chow overtake on Lawson, and I don't know who it was. It was someone else.
That was one of my favourite moments of the race.
That's got to hurt when you're in a Red Bull and a Haas goes around the outside, and then seeing later on that old mate was hit you with the old chow.
Give you the chow as he went past. It was so cool and calm as well. It wasn't like a Magnussen where he...
demonic like chow.
Yeah, he told someone to F off once he passed him because they battled with him for a bit.
Yeah, there was just chill. Gotcha.
Yeah, just chow.
See you, boy.
But yeah, Sauber were back to being slow.
Yeah.
Nothing outstanding in quali, which was a bit of a shame because we've seen a couple of reasonable quali performances by Bortoletto and then by Hulkenberg, but GP quali, no.
And mistakes from them both in the Grand Prix at the start. Was it Hulkenberg dropped it? Spun off and Bortoletto lost the arse in another corner or something. I don't know. There was just green shit going everywhere.
They were just nowhere that I didn't even see them. And that was another thing for the bloody race was that especially by the end of the race there was no one within a couple of seconds of each other, so we're just focused on bloody Doohan and Hadjar battling for 14th or something.
Doohan defends hard, doesn't he?
Yeah, I don't mind that from the young Aussie boy. Did get himself a penalty, but it wasn't like he was scoring points down there anyway.
But I sort of love the fact that he got the penalty, and it was, I don't know whether the team let him know. I'm sure they probably did. But it was almost like he switched into, oh, well, I got the penalty. You're going to get the points on the road. But good luck getting past me. It's not happening.
No. All right. So we've got a couple of fan questions here. So I'll read these out and we'll have a bit of a chin wag.
Go for it.
First one's from Anonymous231.
Ooh, good name.
Why is Lawson not performing?
Ooh, how long have you got?
Well, yeah. Thanks for the question, Anonymous231.
They could have given us a bit more than a fucking username like that, couldn't they?
Well, I guess they're staying anonymous, aren't they? Maybe it's Max Verstappen.
It probably is.
He's written in.
It's probably Lawson. He wants answers, and he
Lawson,
knows we've got him.
He's wondering what he should do. It's a pretty loaded question. I'm not really sure why he's not performing, but I can see what his pressures would be. You know, you're coming up against a 4-time world champion and current, going for his 5th. As your teammate, you're trying to drive the second seat of a car that's renowned for being near impossible, like having your, mouse turned up to hypersensitivity, and just the pressure of that Red Bull seat altogether, and being arguably a rookie. Some consider him a rookie, some not. It'd be tough. It'd be bloody tough. And every move you're in the spotlight from all the past drivers and Perez and all that. So performance is just going to be, spotlighted the entire time.
Yeah, he's got a lot of things going against him, that's for sure. I think you could almost sum it up with all of that external pressure that's enough by itself. But when you've got a car that's designed for Max's driving style, and he's clearly got a different driving style than the typical Formula One driver, because he's gone through a lot of teammates that can't deliver in that second seat. And it just seems to be a nosy car that's tail happy. So they're just not confident, or Lawson in particular, not confident enough to get on the throttle early because they're worried about losing the arse. So then straight away you've just lost lap time. And it doesn't take long before that accumulates to being a second or 2 seconds off the pace. And confidence is massive. If you're in a car and you don't have confidence in what the car's going to do, you can't really predict how fast you can take the corner, where you should really be diving in on the brakes, because you want to know, I can push at this point of the corner, because you know what the car's going to do. Yeah, well, you're on the back foot big time. And that's just as a standalone thing. You add in, you're racing Max Verstappen, so he's making that car look good, or look better than what it is. You got all the eyes on you. People are expecting you to perform. You've only got a certain amount of races before you potentially could be kicked to the curb. Like, yeah, the poor bastard, he's up against it.
Yeah, and quali's where it really highlights that, and especially like how close the field is. It was under a second from between him and Verstappen. I think the McLarens were a little bit forward of that again, a few tenths, but for the whole field, pole to 20th to be almost within a second is crazy. So it doesn't take much to not pull it together and really highlight that.
He's you can sort of, I guess a good example would be that Haas overtaking him, Behrman overtaking him at the end of the race. Like if you were to flip Verstappen to the back of the grid and Verstappen was starting 20th, you wouldn't see him finishing in like a double figure sort of finishing position, he would carve his way through the field, where Lawson seems to not even be able to make a dent on some of the slower cars, which is not very promising.
No, it's not good for old Lawson. And there's already talk about Sonoda or someone else taking his seat. Sonoda's been asked if he'd be happy to take it for Japan kind of thing, so...
He seems all for it.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Which that's another conversation itself. Is it worth Yuki taking it? But first and foremost, I disagree with him getting rid of him after 2 races. Unless the data is so bad and you're like, this guy's not going to build confidence in this car and it's not going to get better in any sort of reasonable time frame. But 2 races, man, like that's not...
Oh, you got to give him more than that. Like I was thinking like 6 or something kind of thing as a minimum, but...
And Australia was a write-off.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really get much from that. That was a shit show.
Yeah.
So you can almost say it was his first proper race. So, yeah, I think, that 6 to 12 sort of range, half a season.
And I don't think he'd ever raced at China either, so...
Well, he's done a bunch of racing in Japan at Suzuka.
This will be his real test.
So if they don't do something rash and get rid of him, if he's shit at Suzuka, then you could probably go, well, look, this track... You just can't get a grasp on the car. But, yeah, I think it'd be so unfair to boot him after 2.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think he needs to be given a bit of time, so I'll be very disappointed if he's out too soon, especially if it's before Japan.
Time will tell. We've got a week and a half, and, well, I'm sure it'll probably come out the next week. They're going to make that switch.
So we'll... leave our predictions for the Japanese Grand Prix till next week and see what else has come out in the meantime.
Yeah.
Next question by DRS Fanatic.
Good name.
Did Antonelli deserve driver of the day?
I'll let you lead with this one, mate. What do you reckon?
Look, solid drive from Antonelli. Qualied 8th, finished 8th on the track. Yes, he got promoted, I think it was 2 positions because of the disqualifications of Hamilton and Leclerc, but for when he got given driver of the day, it was for starting 8th, finishing 8th. To me, that's good. Yes, he's he's a rookie and that's a great result, but essentially that's where you expect him because it should be the top 4 teams. He should be around, 7th, 8th.
I think they forgot about Piastri, probably because they didn't see him on the TV, but old boy started first and just brought the race home. I think that's probably up there.
Well, that would have been that was my vote for driver of the day was Piastri, just solid performance all weekend, really.
Norris, Leclerc driving with the busted front wing. Like, there was a lot of good drives out there. Even Russell.
Yeah, that's it. And I don't know. It's a good drive, don't get me wrong, but driver of the day, probably not.
Bit of a weird one. I think everyone was sort of caught off guard by that a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, we got any other questions?
To tie in with Leclerc's front wing, we've got one from Downforce Down Under. Why did they not replace Leclerc's front wing?
Well, probably ran the numbers. He wasn't losing much time on the track. I think it's an extra 7 seconds added to your overall stop, roughly. It's about a 12-second stop total to change a wing.
I did hear that by, I think it was Bernie Collins in the Grand Prix commentary. But then I think it might have been Sonoda had his front wing changed, and that seemed to take ages.
Yeah.
It was like a 16 or something stop time or...
Let's have a crack.
Yeah.
It sort of worked weird in a way because he got hit that front left, and that front left tyre was what they've been having a lot of trouble with wear-wise over the weekend. And so it had a bit of flex to the wing. Clearly the FIA were happy that it wasn't going to disintegrate and send shrapnel into other drivers or the crowd, etc.
Yeah.
because they have the power to force Ferrari to change the front wing. But it makes me wonder whether it was a little bit easier on the wear of the tyre. Obviously not, the cars hasn't got consistent downforce, but yeah, I wonder if it eased up on the wear or maybe it made the pace. I don't know. He seemed to just perform well.
Yeah, kind of hearing was that was meant to make the tyre wear worse. So to me, it was weird. I would have thought, yeah, not pit him immediately because it was extremely early in the race, but that first pit stop, I would have thought definitely do a wing change and take that hit and, maybe throw him onto some hard tyres or whatever was alternate to what he started on. I don't think he started on hard. I think it was mediums. And to just try and hang it out and, see if a safety car or something would come up. Like I know one didn't, but if you watched F1 Academy beforehand, there was like 4 safety cars or something in the one race. Like 3 cars were getting taken out on one corner. Like
demolition derby style.
Yeah. And that probably sounds a bit worse than what it was. That was, one car kind of trying to make a move down the inside and jumping on the anchors and just kind of touching wheels with a second car that spun out and took 2 others with her. But so that took 3 of them out. But there's a stage there, especially in their feature race, where you couldn't get through a couple of laps without a safety car. So it's not like safety cars don't happen at all.
And you've got Stroll on the track. Anything can happen. Yeah,
like I know it's a different race, a formula, a different discipline, but safety cars are always possible, and I was pretty surprised not to see one in the F1 races the whole weekend. But yeah, I would have thought that a wing change would have definitely been on the cards. But
I mean, you'd think that Ferrari run the numbers and gone, okay, well, it doesn't make sense for him to change the wing, but then it's Ferrari. They do rogue shit, so you can't really trust them.
Yeah, so then, I don't know, were they comparing his times to Hamilton's, but then maybe Hamilton was a bit slow? Like, Leclerc seemed to have the pace. He still got ahead of Hamilton and had more pace without the front wing end plate that they're saying was losing like 30 points of downforce. And look, I don't know how much that is, but from what I've heard, it's a lot. So, I just can't. Like maybe he could have been podium or maybe past Norris at the end there because he struggled with his brakes. Like,
I guess at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because he got disqualified anyway.
That is true. But if they had a changed wing, that might have made a difference. They might have had another stop in there or...
Bloody...
Who knows?
Ferrari.
Who bloody knows?
I'm glad I jumped off that sinking ship.
Oi, come on, mate.
I'm on the Williams bandwagon now, mate. We are flying.
Hot air balloon straight to the top.
Well, they would be even higher if Sainz could do something. He's struggled a little bit.
Yeah, a bit surprised with that. We'll see if he can start throwing some results together once he settles in.
He's been operating, but he hasn't been the smooth operator.
No.
So we need to get a little bit of that smoothness back from old Carlos.
Apparently in Grand Prix quali, his seat was loose, so that didn't help him, get up the standings that he wanted. And I think he's been using an old chassis too, from what I've heard. So hopefully they get a new chassis in there. It might help him out a bit as well.
All right. Should we wrap up some points?
Yes, we should.
Well, we don't really have to. I'm not overly keen on it.
I've been waiting for this.
We can just do it later.
Wanted to do it at the start, the middle. Sticks wouldn't let me. He's trying to...
I think points are stupid, really.
Trying to brush it under the carpet.
It's just an immature sort of setup.
I think
I'm beyond it.
I think it's very exciting.
All right. Rip the Band-Aid off.
Right. So, let's run through our little predictions, eh? Or have you just got a points? You don't even want to go through them, do you?
Oh, I scored 1 point I should really score 10 points because I picked our boy Piastri to go first in the GP and backed him in. I really believed in him. I stuck by my fellow countrymen and, yeah, got me 1 point. I feel like it should be like a 10 factor, to be honest with you.
Nice try. So, I scored myself a big 3 points this weekend over Stix's miserable 1 point. So my 3 points were for predicting Norris to come second in the Grand Prix. I predicted Piastri to come second in the sprint race. And my left of field double Williams points came true after the disqualifications.
Sign snuck in there for a buzzer beater for you.
He did. I'm happy with the big man. So that got me a nice 3 points.
Yuki decided to go top 6 in the wrong race. So there my left of field was nada.
Yeah, look, do you want to put that one out to the fans? We'll put a poll up. What was your left of field, Sticks?
I had Yuki to go top 6, but I didn't classify whether it was sprint or GP, but realistically, yeah, borderline.
All right. Do you think Sticks should get a point for left of field for Sonoda being top 6 in the sprint, but not the Grand Prix? We'll chuck that poll up later.
Right, much more to chat about.
No, I'll just remind you that in the total championship tally...
What's that? Cutting you out.
I'm on 3 points and you're on...
Technical difficulties. Box.
You're on 2 points, mate. That's 3 points to Freezer and 2 points to Sticks.
Boxy slap.
I know you've taken your
K1.
headphones off.
Just try it.
But I'm sure you can still hear me because we're sitting in the same room.
K1, just try, just practice.
Righto, let's wrap this bloody shit show up. If you've enjoyed the pod, please follow, like, subscribe, hit the share button, share it with another F1 fan. Whatever you need to do it for us. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Make sure you vote for that point to go in my tally. I'm really desperate. All right, catch ya.
Boy.
Oh, look at this. This is not a dog. This is a piece of shit.